You have a man who's led a country that had the most beautiful cities that they demolished, had the most beautiful domes. Those domes are the most beautiful.
But it's
in
all
the
Russia's.
world,
but that's Russia's fault, though, Mr. President. Russia
They're
did
all
the
demolished. 1,000-year-old domes, and everything's demolished. All those people are killed. Never to come back again.
But Mr. President, that's all. That's Vladimir Putin's fault. Don't you agree?
I get tired of listening to it. I'll tell you what. I've seen it enough.
Yeah, I get pretty tired of listening to it too sometimes. I feel like Brian Kilmeade over at Fox might be tired of listening to a little bit of that, because he is doing his level best as a Fox News conservative to get through to the world's dumbest toddler, Donald Trump, who's going on about buildings that have been destroyed and people who have been killed. Not only killed, but never to return again on top of the death. And he's just trying to get him to understand that that's not Zelensky's fault. That's Vladimir Putin's fault. But as you probably know from watching the news throughout this week, Donald Trump has been on a tear against Zelensky. And so we're going to talk about that and the conservatives that are pushing back. But to start off, Cenk, what do you think Donald Trump is trying to prove with all this?
Yeah, that's what I want to get to after you see all the back and forth, because we found it. We found why Trump is doing this nonsensical pressure campaign on Ukraine when he's supposed to be doing a pressure campaign on the people we're negotiating against, Russia. We want to get a peace deal. US and Ukraine together want to get a peace deal with the opposing party, Russia. So why are we pressuring our own partner? It turns out there's an excellent answer. So we'll get to that in a little bit.
Okay, but first we will go over a little bit more of the conservatives trying to get through to him. We have a bit more of Kilmeade first. Take a look at this.
Look what's happened to his country. It's been demolished.
But no, I hear you.
But
Mr. President, do you know who's to blame for that? That's Vladimir. But don't you think it's Vladimir Putin that did the invasion unwarranted to try to take back land he had no right to? And don't you think fundamentally that's that? And if you could just, and now both sides want to talk, it seems. So we should just get to that point.
They only want to talk because of me. If I wasn't involved, they wouldn't be talking to each other. And Russia would continue to, go through Ukraine, because they are going through, Brian. They've taken a lot of land, and Russia would continue the march through Ukraine. If it wasn't for me, they wouldn't be talking at all. I'm the only reason they're talking.
No. Okay, yeah, no, unfortunately, he is talking, and he sounds, I'm going to say sick. I'm going to say hopefully sick right there. But anyway, for now, he's not wrong. They're only talking because of Donald Trump. Unfortunately, the they doesn't include Ukraine. He has no interest in them being a party to all of this. And it's hardly a surprise that Vladimir Putin would be excited to talk with Donald Trump about this. The peace plan is going to be handing Ukraine over to Russia. That's not an achievement. That's not difficult. It's not hard to call someone up and be like, hey, I'm giving up all my leverage to you. You want to do business? Yeah, he probably will. And still though, I want to give credit to Brian Kilmeade, because he's actually pushing back more than, 95% of the Republicans in the House, more than 90% of the Republicans in the Senate. He's actually standing up for something approaching reality or the truth, which is nice. We have one more clip we want to show though, where Trump gets about as close as he probably ever will from now on to actually acknowledging that the country that invaded Ukraine is sort of to blame for some of this.
When you say Russia was the attacker, yes, Russia was attacked. Russia attacked, but there was no reason for them to attack. You could have talked him out. There was no reason that he should have attacked. That whole thing was going on for years. There was no reason he was going in. It should have never happened. Biden said the wrong things. Zelensky said the wrong things. They got attacked by somebody that's much bigger and much stronger, which is a bad thing to do. And you don't do that. But Russia could have been talked out of that so easily. That should never have been a war. Joe Biden is a very dumb man. You know that, and I know it. Joe Biden is a very dumb man who was dumber than ever before, because things have happened to him. He had no idea what he was doing, and everything he said was wrong. And I said, you know what? I think this guy's going to cause I think he's going to cause a war, and that's what happened. And I will tell you, Putin could have been talked out of that so easy.
Yeah, all you would have had to do is just hand over your country without an invasion, and then he wouldn't invade it. so that later we could give it to him. It would have been so simple, so easy. Anyway, no, Kilmeade knows exactly what's going on there. What remaining shreds of respect he has for Donald Trump, I'm sure evaporating in real time. And we're gonna go through and we're gonna talk about all the politics of this. I'm just gonna first reiterate, I absolutely despise Donald Trump. He is one of the most genuinely horrible people that we've ever had thrust upon us as a country in terms of our government, our society. The fact that he gets to drive conversation, let alone government policy, is an indictment of this entire species. But Cenk, what do you think?
An indictment of the entire species. Okay, that's pretty strong. I like the strength of it. Okay, so we did this clip a long time ago where we called it Epic Mountain Man. And he thought he saw a Sasquatch, and he said, "Yeah, beautiful hair, 6 fingers." And they said to him, I think it might have been CNN, "What'd you do?" He said, "I rough talk him and run him off." Okay, so I love that guy. So Donald Trump rough talks people, and good libs in DC and in all the good educated circles hate it. I don't. I don't care at all. I don't mind it, and I get the value of it from a political point of view. So when he's like, "Joe Biden's such a dumb guy, he's just the worst," That's normal politics to me. In fact, I think the Democrats should do it a billion times more. I've said that for over 20 years on this show, right? I do mind the same thing John minds, which is he never makes any sense. Like, He's just rambling. He said, right? Okay, it finally gets a concession. Kilmeade does from Trump that it was Russia who attacked Ukraine and not the other way around. First of all, the fact that you got to correct the president of the United States that it was Russia who attacked Ukraine and not Ukraine who attacked Russia, already disaster. I mean, what kind of, like, even if you're trying to accomplish the thing that Trump is trying to accomplish, which I'll get to in a minute, okay, that's not how I would go about it. I could, find different, like, reasonable, halfway believable ways to attack Zelensky, who's our ally, but I wouldn't say, okay, he started the war, he's a dictator, he's at 4%. They keep saying he's at 4%. He's at 60% in a combination of the polls. The 4% number is just imaginary. He just makes up all sorts of crazy crap all the time. But there's a silver lining here, which is the right wing is much more fractured than people believe. I know our side thinks, no way, they're all a cult, they're etc. But here's Brian Kilmeade on Fox News definitely pushing back. His own ambassador to Ukraine, as we're gonna show you in a second, pushed back. There's lots of hosts, right-wing hosts that are pushing back in different directions. Mark Levin's against this, but then the other guys are against Mark Levin. It's a beautiful mess over there. And that's a good thing. There should be good debate. There shouldn't be a cult. There shouldn't be just talking points. But again, we haven't really gotten to the main reason why. I'm going to in a minute, I promise. But Brian, what do you think so far?
There is a very strange dynamic here where a journalist, and use that term loosely, but an on-air TV personality at Fox News is trying to keep a car on the road. It's hitting these guardrails and it's traveling at a slow rate of speed, but it probably has a drunk driver in it, and they're trying to keep it on the road. I'm not implying that Trump is drunk, but he sounds drunk. He sounds like they're trying to sort of salvage his logic when they know that he isn't making any intellectual sense or informed. He's not heightening the dialogue as a head of state. I mean, just listen to how pathetic it is where he's trying to correct him. Remember, isn't this the way it happened, Dad? Like, Dad is having a moment and you're trying to help him. And furthermore, it sounds like a whack packer is calling into the Howard Stern show from bed. That's what it sounds like to me. The domes, they have the beautiful domes over there. I'm not sure the domes are resonating with anyone here in Cherokee County in Georgia, where I live. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. And we're all, whether you are a TV journalist or whether you're a senator or a congressman, you are responsible, if you're on his team, to keep him on the road and keep him from veering off and going through the guardrail. And that is a really sad place to be, to have to pretend because we're very early into this term.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's every reason to believe that Donald Trump's brain is going to go, and it's probably going to accelerate the falling apart. I know that there was obviously a lot of, I think, justifiable concern about Joe Biden and all of his failings, but Donald Trump was losing his mind on stage regularly, and just because he's not the most degraded politician in the campaign doesn't mean it's not a concern. And it's a particular concern now that he's going to be in charge, or at the very least, he's going to be president as someone is in charge and doing a lot of stuff.
There seems to be this epiphany that Trump has from time to time that the result of war is destruction. That when one part of a geography is bombed, there is nothing left. That's kind of the definition of it. He seems very surprised that the domes are gone, or that there's rubble, or that there needs to be rebuilt. Oh, there's nothing there. Oh my God. And it's like, I don't know if he thinks that the result or consequence of war are maybe homes are made of rubber or Play-Doh and they just sort of spring up or survive. But I mean, there's a lot of real sickness here, you guys, that we're listening to. This is some really weird, debilitating mental faculties here that we're watching.
Yeah, it makes one wonder, what if his father had not been able to call in favors and he'd actually served in Vietnam as so many others had, and he'd experienced that firsthand, how different he might be, his view of these things, how much better he could be as a member, an American citizen, as a politician potentially. But unfortunately, he didn't have to serve. So that said, Cenk, do you want to move on to possibly the explanation behind all this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well,
so look, we'll skip all the parts where General Kellogg, who's the Ukrainian ambassador to Ukraine for us, is like, Trump's not really right. Okay, but so guys, why are we pressuring Ukraine instead of Russia? That to me was the main mystery. And if you watch the Young Turks regularly, you saw me ask that question and not have the answer. Usually we dig in and find what the real reason is. And now we did it. We dug in and found it. So Wall Street Journal, I'll go to graphic 9 here. Ukraine says it has Europe's largest reserve of titanium, which is used to make alloys for aircraft and naval vessels, and drumroll please, and lithium, a key material in batteries. So apparently our Treasury Secretary, I'll read you these two because it's an amazing story. Back up to graphic 4. Trump administration is stepping up, the Wall Street Journal explains, its push for Ukrainian President Zelensky to hand in mineral rights worth of hundreds of billions of dollars to the US. Let me be clear. We have sent about $100 billion to Ukraine so far in military and financial assistance. That's a lot of money. What we're asking for in return is $500 billion in mineral rights. Okay, well, for the Ukrainians, it's a little bit of a raw deal, but okay, what are they getting in return? As it turns out, nothing. Let me go further. Bessent's our Treasury Secretary, and he's talking to Zelensky. Already that's interesting. Should be the Secretary of State talking to Zelensky. Why is the Treasury Secretary talking to him? Okay, Bessent pushed the paper across the table. That was a document that they handed Zelensky on the spot, demanding that Zelensky sign it. The Ukrainian president told a lawmaker. Zelensky took a quick look and said he would discuss it with his team. Bessent then pushed the paper closer to Zelensky. So the rest of the story explains, they're like, sign it out, sign it out. He's like, it says 50% of all the mineral rights, and I don't even know who it's going to. Like, where does the 50% go? Does it go to the United States Treasury? Does it go to straight to Tesla? Where does it go? What? And it's totally unclear what rights we're talking about here. They're like, sign it, sign it. He's like, no, I gotta go back. This is a $500 billion deal. I gotta go back and talk to people about it. They're like, sign it now. No. So it turns out we're trying to get their mineral rights. So that's why Trump and his entire team, well, not his entire team because the ambassador's not on board, but most of his team have now turned around and are pressuring our own ally and helping Russia, not because of Russia, but because they're like, oh, the mineral rights, the lithium. Elon needs the lithium. That is hundreds of billions of dollars in lithium. And by the way, guys, this is super important. If you're MAGA, you might be thinking, well, look, I don't care how he talks, and I don't care if it makes sense to Brian Kilmeade or you guys. The 500 billion sounds pretty good. It's not going to you. It's not going to any of us. This is what, like when we did the coup against Iran back in the 1950s originally, Okay, well, at least we got a deal for their oil. No, we didn't get a deal for their oil. BP and Exxon and Mobil got a deal for their oil, and they made untold hundreds of billions of dollars of profit off of the Iranian people's resources because of that coup. But the US taxpayers never saw a dime of it. In fact, what we saw was endless wars in the Middle East on behalf of those oil companies, and sometimes Israel, okay, but whoever was the donors to our politicians, but we never saw a dime of it, guys. Instead, we sent, now in the Middle East at large, we sent thousands of American kids to go die there. We spent trillions on that war. Again, now the defense contractors get paid. You see how all the different donor classes are getting paid? Now, in this case, it's the #1 donor to Trump, nearly $300 million in campaign contributions from Elon Musk to Donald Trump. So yeah, this reminds me of The Big Lebowski, where they turns out that they don't have the hostage after all, the bad guys, the comical bad guys, right? And they go, we don't care. We want some money anyway, Lebowski. So this is Elon saying to Trump, I want some money. I don't care that Ukraine's our ally and Russia's against us. Let's go beat up Ukraine until they give me the goddamn lithium and titanium. So that's what's going on here. And now that you know that, it makes perfect sense why they're pressuring Ukraine instead of Russia on behalf of Donald Trump's donor. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I would only add, I mean, it's hardly surprising. Trump spent how many years saying we should just take the oil? Iraq, whatever, just go in there, just take the oil, it's ours now. And so sure, the minerals, so the oil there, the minerals in Ukraine, all of the land of Gaza, I suppose, it's just ours to take. We just take it. And the most important part of that is not acknowledging that he thinks that America should go around and take a bunch of things. It's hardly surprising. I think people also need to understand that this is implicitly providing a wink and a nod to Russia to do the same in the rest of the world. That we take the resources there, you conquer the rest of Ukraine a little bit later, you take Finland or whatever, and then we'll take Greenland and we get Panama, and then you take parts of Africa. Like that, the world is being split up in this way. But even that, I don't think is the most important part. It is what you said, Cenk. It's that any MAGA person who thinks that this in any way will benefit them, you are utterly out of your mind. None of this is going to you. All of these benefits are going to the wealthiest people in the world. That's always the way it was going to be. You're not getting those resources. And you've already seen domestic versions of this. When they drill, baby, drill, do they send you oil? No, they don't subsidize the cost of your oil. They go sell it abroad. You pay more for gas than you ever have. We've been baby drilling forever. We export more oil than we ever have as a country before. None of these things that they do and ever end up helping regular people. But most of these wars do require the death of regular people in the form of our soldiers. And so, like this, for some of them, this will strike them as like a weird dark form of patriotism. That like, sure, we've become sort of an imperial fascist state, but whatever, we've conquered a lot of stuff and America's strong. But no, really, we're mercenaries. The US military has become mercenaries where we fight a war, we get paid hundreds of billions of dollars in return. It doesn't even go to the soldiers, it goes to the generals. The entire thing is so twisted and so far from anything that's being sold to MAGA.
Yeah, Cenk, John, I refuse to believe that Donald Trump thought of this transaction himself. So there's someone, I think he just wants the win. I think he wants to be the hero. I think he wants to be the guy who saved the day and basically settled this dispute, this war where the domes are getting demolished. And that's that. Because he says it, but do you think that there's someone who in the administration decided that this would be an interesting thing to put down in paper and slide across the table at this negotiation?
So Brian, I think that part's easy. Elon Musk. And so, and what they do is they tell, like Trump, of course, not sophisticated, but it's easy to explain to him, hey, there's $500 billion worth of natural resources there, and you, Donald Trump, should get it. In fact, once we take the lithium out of the ground, we'll engrave it with Trump. Me get 500. No, Donald, it's not going to you. It's going to go to Elon, right? Or whichever company, right? But me take. Now, guys, this is not an exaggeration. This is not hyperbole. Now, it turns out the Russians, this is from the Wall Street Journal, are making us an offer. Hey, a lot of the lithium and the minerals are now in the occupied territories that Russia occupies. Cut a deal with us. we'll sell you some of the minerals. And that way you throw Ukraine all the way under the bus. And we're contemplating that. I want you to remember, we promised, the United States of America promised the Ukrainians, if you give away your nukes after the Soviet Union fell apart, we will give you a security guarantee forever. Unless you've got some minerals and then Russia occupied that territory and Elon Musk wants it and he's the #1 donor, in which case, sayonara and good luck to you. This is not about how much money should we spend. That's a good, interesting debate. That's a real debate. How long should this continue? How hard should we drive towards peace? Those are good, interesting debates and ones we should have, right? And we should all drive towards peace. This is separate. This is about a robbery. And so it's totally unacceptable. Last thing is, I can't answer John's question. There was one time that I know of in American history where we actually, the taxpayers got something from natural resources. And that was the most ironic thing in the world. And see, fairest show in America, it was actually Sarah Palin, when she was governor of Alaska, made a deal with the oil companies. If you guys are gonna keep drilling in Alaska, you're gonna have to pay some of the proceeds to the citizens of Alaska, which actually makes perfect sense. And when they got the checks from the oil companies, Palin got up to an 80% approval rating in Alaska. That was part of the reason that they picked her to be VP. 80%, unheard of. Because it was the only time that anyone has ever given American natural resources back to the American people in any way, shape, or form, and not had giant multinational corporations steal it, rape their land, take their resources, and just put it in their goddamn pockets. So then, of course, ironically, they brought Palin into the national ticket and said, now change all of your positions on that issue, right? So you no longer want to take the oil and resources and give it to the American people or the people of Alaska. Now you'll take it and give it right back to ExxonMobil because they're a top donor of ours. And you'll start saying stupid crap like drill baby drill, because that's what the oil companies want, and especially out of you. And so you better go out there and tell everybody to drill and never tell people where the money's actually going. And that's exactly what she did. So there you go, fun little history lesson. But this thing is now totally screwed. We're not gonna help Ukraine at all. From here on out, all Donald Trump and Elon Musk are gonna do are try to get those mineral rights. So the Ukrainians are totally screwed. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.